Hey everybody, it's Jimmy from the DIY and Digital, and today we're making roads. Welcome back everybody. First of all, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any updates, including the town updates that I'm doing where I'm doing roads today. So this is the area where I'm going to be putting a new road. It's been pretty blank and I've been trying to figure out what to do with it on my layout, and my technique is kind of an amalgamation of several different road techniques. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover up the track where the road is going to come up to. We're making a crossing with this as well. And we want to protect the track because we are going to be using some joint compound. The next thing we're going to do is I have this little guide right here for getting 2-lane roads correct. I just made it out of a popsicle stick and looked up the measurements and measured that out. And then I'm just using a straight edge of some kind right here to do the edges of the road. These are going to be city streets, so they're going to be just straight lines pretty much. We're then going to take and mark this small intersection right here, and we're going to use our gauge again right there. And then I'm going to use another form of a straight edge. I have some scrap wood laying around that's just a little straight edge, and going to put that on there and draw the lane down this way. So there is where our road is going to go. The next step is I'm going to use double-sided tape to outline the road, so I have almost a form like I'm going to be putting cement into it, but we're going to be using joint compound instead, but I need to have a form for that joint compound to go into. We then take a little masking tape at the joints up here and cover it up so that we don't get any of the joint compounds seeping into any cracks. Okay, so now we're coming back with joint compound. Now I absolutely love joint compound. It's got a relatively quick working time, it's already in a semi-solid state, and it's also very expensive at the local hardware store. I got a gallon of this for about $6 or $7. I can't remember exactly what I got, but this stuff is very, very malleable, and once it gets in place, it's going to hold its shape, and it's also, because it's meant to work with drywall, you can sand it smooth very, very easily. So we're just going to spread joint compound. Now this is going to be the base for our road. You can do a road on joint compound, but for me it doesn't give the texture of this. This is what allows me to have smoother transitions in elevation. Now the reason that I'm doing it this way versus any other way is because I'm using Kato Unitrack on my layout, and I need to have a smooth transition up to this curve right here where I'm making the crossing. So the only way I can really do that is to make the joint compound slowly rise up to that. And Kato doesn't make curved crossings, so this is how we're going to do this. Okay, once we have everything spread out as smoothly as possible, we need to let this dry overnight so that we can start sanding it. Okay, it's the next day and I have removed all the tape, and this is our road, and I'm going to go ahead and start sanding down the joint compound to make it nice and smooth. As with any scenery material, you want to be careful around your track. Make sure you get everything nice and clean once you're done working with it. Now this is a low dust joint compound, but it still does create some dust with sanding, so you're definitely going to want to come back with a shop vac or a broom or something and get up all the extra joint compound dust. Okay, so our next step here is we're going to take some sandpaper. You can see I have some 150 grit sandpaper, and we're going to be painting it. I love using sandpaper for asphalt texture. It gives that just absolutely perfect look. And I actually learned this technique from Jerry Leone in his way of doing roads. And my method is kind of a hybrid of a lot of people's method and his method for building roads, because there are tons of ways to do roads. So we're going to start with some basic gray primer here. This is so roads in real life aren't completely black, and I really want this to have kind of a grayish blackish hue to it. And you'll notice I'm spraying in this tub. If you remember on my preview and quick tips videos, I said that if you don't have a spray booth, to use a tub, and this is what I do. Now you can see that I'm coming back with some black spray paint, and this gives it kind of a darker blackish asphalt look, but it keeps that natural look of not being completely black. And then once you're done, you're going to want to let this dry, and then you're going to be cutting it into strips the size of the road. Okay, so now we're prepping to put our sandpaper down on our road, and I'm going to be coating this with just simple white glue. You want to make sure you spread this nice and smooth, because if you don't, it's going to bubble up, so you want to get a nice even coating. And then we're going to start putting our sandpaper panels on here. Now, if you don't want the little joints, I actually want the little joints in my road. You can use lines of belt sanding sandpaper, the really long reels of it. I am perfectly okay with these joints, and I'm actually going to show you how I cover them up and make them look realistic. But once you put this on there, you're going to want to weigh them down with pretty much everything you got, because you want them to dry flat. Because the glue is water-based, it's going to want to curl up with that paper. So you're going to want to put as much weight as possible on here. And you can see they dried nice and flat, and I've done the rest of the road right here. And I am taking more weights off right here. And you can see there is the beginning of my road. I've now trimmed the road up, and I'm taking a little bit more joint compound, and I'm spreading it into these cracks right here. And you know when there's a crack in the road and they have a little bit of a bump in it where they have patched it and filled it, that's what this is going to kind of look like. Now you can see that I have covered up all the little seam lines right here, and then I'm going to come back with another popsicle stick, and I'm just going to scrape off all the excess. I'm going to be okay with the look of the little patch in the road. And remember, you always want to save as much stuff as possible, and I'm putting the unused portion back in the joint compound container. Next, we're going to come back with our gray primer. We're going to be very careful because we are going to be near the track. If you're not comfortable with spray painting next to the naked track, I recommend going ahead and masking all of this off. I've done this a lot, and I have fairly good control over it, but if you're not comfortable with that, go ahead and mask off that track. And then, of course, we're going to come back with our black paint and even out this color. And you can see it kind of has an uneven weathered look. I'm very, very happy with that. Okay, now time for my secret for sidewalks. I use the cardboard sections of Kato Unitrack packs to make my sidewalks. Now what I do in these is I simply paint them over, and you can see that they have rounded edges, which are great for corners of curbs. And in terms of in scale, it's pretty close to the accurate size. In terms of your eye, it's going to look accurate. I just paint these up. Now I come in first and I just take a foam brush and I get this light gray color spread out everywhere. And this is just your preference depending on what you want to model. This is a color that I like for my sidewalks, and you're going to want to get this nice and thick so that you cover up all of the paint. And then I come back, because I don't want any of the brush strokes on there, is I do this technique where I kind of smack it, and it causes a few air bubbles. It also evens out all the brush strokes. And you're just going to want to keep smacking it until you have a nice, even texture. So now we're going to cut that back in half, and so that we have two sections of sidewalk. So now we're going to size the sidewalk up for the curve in the track, and I'm going to mark it here with a utility knife. And then I'm going to start cutting to where it will fit. Once I have cut it to fit, I just dab down some white glue and I put the piece in place. I weigh that section down and I do the second section. I mark the edge where I need to cut. I put some more white glue down. And I put the second piece in place, making sure it is aligned with the street side edge of the first piece. I make sure that both of these are weighed down to dry. And here is the final result. Personally, I'm very happy with this. I gotta do a little bit more touching up to it, and obviously I have to put lines on it, but I really like this technique. It's very simple, it's very easy to do, and you'll notice that the sidewalks are very large for in scale, but with them being cardboard, I can always cut them to size. So as you can see, I am doing this technique on my entire town scene, and so far it's working really well, and I really like the way it's turning out. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any updates on this town or any other videos that I put out. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Happy railroading.